troopresource.org, trying to put 1,000 skills into every troop's backpack.
Welcome, everybody, to the Troop Resource Town Hall. We have here tonight our standard hosts of Randy, the man, Hardy.
Guys, hello.
Say hi, Randy. We got Steve Perrone.
Good evening, everyone.
And tonight we have George Whitmire, who is the Council Training Chair. Welcome, George.
Hi, thank you.
Fantastic. So, tonight our topic is wood badge and NYLT and all kinds of other training that we might have questions about. So let's go ahead and get started. Tell us a little bit about, you can talk about wood badge first or NYLT
Sure.
or whatever you like. Go ahead.
I'll talk about wood badge.
Awesome.
One of the things I think it's important to realize is that wood badge talks about leadership, and as far as working with groups, working with teams. Over the weekend I checked, in fact you can check on the internet, there's leadership courses out there very similar to wood badge in the corporate world. The difference is that you have to fly to Pittsburgh and they cost $2,400,
Mm-hmm.
okay, where wood badge is a lot less than that.
Do we have to pay for wood badge?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
there is a charge. It's around
$300?
$300, yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And it's a 2-weekend course. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, more than likely for the next course in 2019. Actually, this year we ran a...
Yep. I'm sorry, when you add it all up, it really is more than the corporate, because my time is valuable. I'm kidding around.
Well, actually, the course for $2,400 was only 3 days. You get twice the value of wood badge leadership. And basically, in fact, if you go onto the American Management Association website, you can see exactly what types of leadership skills they teach you.
I have taken a couple AMA courses.
And
my company paid for it.
And one of them's wood badge?
well, and what happens is that it's the same skills, the same leadership skills. But what they do in wood badge is they flavor it through Boy Scouts. So the activities that we do for the various leadership skills, learning, like team dynamics and ethical decision making and those types of things, all of those are in the AMA courses, but they are also in the wood badge course for 1/8 the cost and twice the time. So there's real value.
That's
there.
awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
But you're not sitting in a conference room somewhere in...
Well, that's the other game that you have is that they use the 4 different types of modalities for the training. So you have the visual, kinesthetic, the auditory, and the hands-on. And I can't think of the really fancy word for that one, but tactile. Look at that! I remembered it. I got them all. So yeah, they use all 4 types of training modalities because different people learn with different styles, and so we want to make sure that everybody's up to speed and is.
Now the participants are divided up in controls, correct?
Yeah, actually wood badge is set up so, like I said, it's flavored with scouts, and therefore it actually runs the same way that you would run a troop. So it's led by a senior patrol leader. It's led by the senior patrol leader under the oversight of a scoutmaster, okay, the way that a troop should be run. And
these would be the staff personnel.
Those are the staff personnel. Mm-hmm. All of the staff have been trained in wood badge, so then you are a participant in wood badge, and then you are asked to come back on staff, and you go through additional training, and then you are the trainer for wood badge. You're one of the trainers. But yeah, the participants are broken into patrols, and they function again. There's part of the team dynamics. It allows you, in other words, you get to experience. Rather than just learn in a conference room, you get to experience the stages of team development. Okay, the forming, storming, norming, and performing stages. You get to actually experience that, and once you've gone through wood badge and NYLT, but I'll get into that in a second. Once you've gone through wood badge and you have that experience, it's real easy to pick up in your home units or in your corporate world.
You left out backstabbing, because that's what happens in the corporate world.
Well, that's part of the ethical decision making.
Oh, there we go.
So it's actually in there.
Okay.
In the corporate world, they've got a different type of blood circle, though.
Yes, they do.
When I train Baloo, I tell the new cub leaders that you have to, when you say blood circle, because that excites the kids.
Yeah.
You have
Excites
to
me too.
Yeah, you have to say it with like a blood curdling sound, like, blood circle.
Blood circle.
But yeah, so you get to actually feel or participate in the training, sensing the group dynamics as compared to just being told about
Right.
group dynamics. So that's a real value in Wood Badge. Similar to NYLT. NYLT is the same concepts, the same leadership skills as Wood Badge. Again, it's couched a little differently because we're dealing with a younger age group. Okay, so it's pedagogy training instead of andragogy for the adults, but it's the same leadership skills that are. Did that impress you, Steve?
It certainly did.
I had to go online and find those words, but the whole idea though is that it's the same types of leadership skills. Now think about that though. If you are a youth and you're trained in leadership skills, you understand team dynamics, you understand all of these various leadership things that you need to be implementing, much like a football team, right? So you're a football player.
How'd you know that?
You just loved it.
Okay.
So if you were a football player and you learn the skills, you learn what you're supposed to do for the position you're playing, but your coach hasn't bothered to go through the training, how good would you be as a football team? You'd be pretty awful because the coach is calling plays that don't make any sense because he hasn't gone through the same training. So in the same way, NYLT, without Wood Badge trained leaders, adult leaders, it loses a lot for the unit. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't lose a lot for the youth. Because think about this. Remember I talked about the AMA course? Okay, and you said you've taken some of those, right?
Time management.
That's right.
Yeah.
How old were you when you took those courses, roughly?
Oh, roughly I was about 40.
Okay, so that was what, like last year?
Pretty much.
But think about
Actually,
this.
2 years in the future.
Okay, so think about this though. A youth taking NYLT at age 14 is getting the same skill set that you now have at age 40. What kind of a boost is somebody like a youth going to have when they have that leadership concept at age 14?
Right.
I'm not sure they need that training because they're very skilled in those pet emojis. So they don't really need that.
That is true. But what we do is we try to bring in all of those types of training materials so that we utilize the materials that the youth are used to. We don't bring in any kind of electronic devices for Wood Badge because none of the Wood Badge people. No, I'm only kidding. But to me, it's critical. If you're going to try to run an excellent troop, okay, that both the adult leadership and the youth are trained, because now they mesh. They understand the process. They're speaking the same language, okay? Now, a unit that decides they're going to send their youth to NYLT and the adults aren't going to go to Wood Badge, the unit is going to have more difficulties. But I'll tell you what, that 14-year-old, 15, 16, and on through life, those skills don't change at all. Okay, so it's a win for them no matter what. Having the adult trained in Wood Badge is a win for the unit.
Which adults should be taking Wood Badge? Who do you generally find taking the Wood Badge courses?
Again, if you use the football analogy, the football team analogy, everyone.
All right. Well,
Realistically,
you've got your
everyone should.
Scoutmaster, your
Scoutmaster, assistant scoutmaster, committee chair are critical because again, when the scoutmaster and assistant scoutmaster are talking to the committee chair, if you're not talking the same language, if you don't understand what you're seeing, Okay, and that's key because when the youth are using their leadership skills, that often looks different from those who aren't trained in NYLT. And so a parent who comes in who wants to intervene because obviously they're the parent and they don't understand. They don't understand that the youth really absolutely can lead, okay, and will lead if given the opportunity. So I would say pretty much any adult who is working with the youth, Wood Badge would be beneficial. In fact, let me take it one step farther. Why go to Pittsburgh? Okay, a lot of companies actually will pay the $300
for the pork barbecue.
Yeah,
They have delicious pork barbecue. It's
You have
bar
to
none.
you have to do your code, like you did on the ham radio last week.
Oh yeah, Siri, Siri.
So, again, if you're a parent, okay, you got to be a registered scouter in order to take Wood Badge. But this is an opportunity to excel in life.
I actually had no idea that that's what it was about. And I've been in Scouts for 10 years now. I actually thought it was sort of the Eagle equivalent for adults. That's what I thought it was.
Actually, we have a number of people who believe that because they came through Scouts and they are Eagles, that they really don't need Wood Badge. And, they may not have taken NYLT, they don't need, they're an Eagle Scout, and that's fine. I mean, that shows skill sets, and there's organizational skills, and there's planning skills. But there is more out there than those skills, and that's what you get through Wood Badge.
George, at the last course, I saw that you had a chartered org rep taking the course. Is
That's
that
correct.
Pretty unusual?
It is somewhat unusual, but we've had a number of people, whether they be charter org reps or committee people, people who are fairly new to Cubs, Cub leaders have been coming in, which I think is super because they're hitting the ground running now.
Yeah, and you have them for the long haul as their children age up through Boy Scouts and beyond.
Exactly. Now, one thing you need to realize is that, again, although everything in Wood Badge and NYLT is flavored with scouting, okay, you're not learning how to identify plants. You're not learning scout skills. So there's a difference. Wood Badge is adult leadership training, whereas introduction to outdoor leader skills. So that's where you're going to learn things about knot tying and flag ceremonies and
Fire
building and
Knife
identifying animals and plants and so forth.
Woods tools.
And I'm not minimizing that. Okay.
How to apply calamine lotion
Yes.
to
Yes.
newly acquired poison ivy.
Yes. Think of it this way, though. The youth really are going to look up to the adults. I mean, that's the whole idea of scouting, is that, association with adults.
With the exception of your own side.
Yes. Well, that's correct, yes. The youth want to look up to the adults as experts. Except there's this age range, you're right, where like for about a year and a half, they don't see any adult as an expert. But the youth look up to the adults as experts. Don't we want to be the experts that the youth are looking up to? I mean, we want to make sure, again, we're not perfect, nobody's perfect, but we sure can be excellent. And that's what we want to try to do, is be the excellent example from a leadership standpoint, for a scouting skills standpoint. We want to be that expert. We want to make sure that what we're imparting on them is correct.
So for Wood Badge, do I need to go camping? Is there a camping element to
There
it?
is a camping element, yes.
Okay.
Because again, it's a little easier to see in the NYLT course than it is in Wood Badge. But the answer is yes. There is a camping element on the second weekend where your patrol goes out and goes on a campsite. Now, we've got some people who are up in age who will take Wood Badge. We have some people who are lame. I meant as
Right.
far as physically.
Randy?
We have some other. No,
I think that I could do well at this because I've been told I'm very campy.
But we can make adjustments there really is no reason not to take wood
Because I
badge.
do know that some people shy away from the camping.
Sure.
And especially, if a
Yeah.
parent wants to, get involved, but they don't want to do the camping. So,
Now,
But each patrol would have their own site. The members of the patrol would cook together.
they
tent
work together, yes.
They work together. They'll form a special bond, which can be a lifetime bond.
Well,
They're
that's-
members of a standard patrol.
That's correct. In fact, if you take a look at it, I'm going to have to read from a paper because I didn't memorize this like I did andragogy and pedagogy. But in the modern wood badge course, there's really 4 things that we're trying to train. Okay, we want to recognize contemporary leadership concepts. In fact, in 2018, just this past course, Cradle of Liberty Council was selected to be one of 2 in the Northeast region to run a new pilot wood badge course. So, as leadership concepts or mechanisms change, BSA puts together a task force and constantly modifies the course materials. So we're a test facility, a test operation.
a sapling wood badge, if you will.
Absolutely. And so in 2020, when it's rolled out for everybody, so it was us in the Northeast region as well as the Boston Area Council. So, and then each of the other regions ran 2 pilots. And the information that they get back from those is where they do the fine-tuning and polishing. So the new wood badge course will be available in 2020. So to bullet point number 1, it's not something that, wood badge, the first wood badge was in 1919. Well, we've come a long way in understanding of leadership and team dynamic and so forth. And so the wood badge course is routinely modified, okay? We apply the skills that one learns from participating as a member of a successful working team. Notice I didn't say as a patrol, because again, these skills can be used in the workforce. These skills can be used in any kind of organization where people are expected to work together. And by the way, they work extremely well, alrighty? The third bullet point is to view scouting globally. Wood badge courses are run in virtually every country where scouting is offered. And so there is the global theme of leadership amongst the scouters. And the 4th item is to revitalize the leader's commitment to by sharing inspirational moments, tying in. Wood badge is not a religion, it's not a clique, it's not a cult, but it is a group of people, much like, how long has it been since my son was in Scouts? If you think about that, we see the value, and it's nice to be able to commune with people of like value, and that's the 4th point for what wood badge is attempting to do.
How often does our council run a course, a wood badge course?
Well, we like to, now I say we, I would like to see us run a wood badge course on an annual basis, There's a certain momentum that occurs when we do that. The problem is that in the last 5 or 6 years, it's been very difficult. A wood badge course requires 32 people. Because if you think about it, if you're going to be teaching team dynamics, it's hard to do that with one person on the team. So you need to have a certain number of people in a patrol, and you have to have a certain number of patrols. And so the minimum number generally is 32. You can get away with a little less, but your target has to be a minimum of 32. And we've been hitting 28, 29, 26.
you squeak them through.
Well, if you're below the 28 mark, you have to cancel your course.
Ooh.
And if you think about that, if you cancel a course, that's 26 people who were ready to take the course who
Right.
cannot take the course now.
Right.
And they're
then
probably
when it
not
comes,
going to do it again.
right, when it comes
Well, and
around
that's right,
again,
you're gonna
it gets
get
a
frustrated by it.
resistance. Yeah.
Now, some may go to an adjoining council, an
Correct.
adjacent council,
Correct.
and take it with another council. And
Sounds like you need to combine councils.
Our course in 2018, the senior patrol leader, who, again, like a troop, the senior patrol leader pretty much runs the course. Our senior patrol leader came from Washington Crossing. Okay, we had staffers that came in from New Jersey. We had a staffer who is recently from the Florida area. We have the same thing that happens in NYLT. Okay?
That would be actually Dave and Jim both are from Florida, right?
I'm
No.
not sure about Jim. I know
Just Dave.
Just Dave? Oh, okay.
We had people attending as participants, attending our course from New Jersey, from New York.
Yeah.
Okay. We see that happen with our NYLT courses. Wood Badge we'd like to try to run one per year, and generally what happens is that it's 2 weekends. It's the third weekend in August, and then the second weekend in September. Okay, you'd have to attend both of those. Now NYLT, we have scheduled 6 NYLT courses. So I think we probably, as a council, run more NYLT courses than any other council, I would think.
George, you're absolutely right, because I'm involved in the area, and I've seen what the other councils are running, and our 6 at times have been as many as the rest of the area run combined.
Yeah.
So what is covered in NYLT that's either similar or different from Wood Badge?
Well, again, the leadership skills are the same, because leadership is leadership. The presentation of those skills is a little different. Now, much like Wood Badge, NYLT is trained by youth leaders. So the youth who've come through NYLT as participants are invited back to be on staff. And so there's adults who are there to oversee, again, much like a troop. And NYLT is a lot easier to observe as a troop than Wood Badge, because the whole idea of NYLT is it's developed to mimic a month in the life of a troop. Okay, so you're planning an outing, and on NYLT we have an outing. Each day is 1 week in the life of a troop, and so each day you have a PLC meeting, you have your troop meeting, and all of the pieces of the troop meeting are in there. Okay. You have a skills practice. Now, we're not doing the skills practice for the purpose of training people how to use a backpacking stove, or how to do tripod lashings, or any of the other scouting skills. Okay, the idea of using that is to show this is what a troop meeting looks like. Okay, this is how you as a youth work within a patrol. So the only way to make that happen, by the way, is to provide those skills. So we do a training session on backpacking stoves, because just like Wood Badge, they go out on an outpost hike. Ben?
Now, when the scouts come in the second time around to actually teach this, do they get additional training in advance of that? Because sometimes when you go through a program, you don't remember everything.
Yes. Yeah, we go through development weekends so that they get an understanding of the background behind the logic of what they learned as a participant. I'll go back to the Wood Badge and the Eagle Scout, okay? Nothing against being an Eagle Scout, okay? But the fact is, to understand the background of, that's why Wood Badge is important. Similarly, if you're a participant, in fact, I would say every staff member has told me that they have learned so much more coming back on staff than they did as a participant, because it's one thing to hear and experience the information. It's another thing to learn it and teach it.
Right.
So,
Well, it's just like any training that you do. You have to learn it, twice as deep in order to teach.
yes, exactly.
Now, is Wood Badge co-ed?
Oh yes,
It is
yes.
co-ed.
And so is NYLT.
Well, it is now.
No, it has been.
Oh, it has been. Okay.
It has been. In fact, I've had people ask me, so what do you think about girls in Scouts? And I said, you know what, I've been involved in NYLT since 2004. I've always known girls in Scouts, because venturers at age 14 are eligible to be
Okay.
part of NYLT. In fact, we have had probably 4 or 5 female senior patrol leaders over the years.
Very
I know
interesting.
So from my standpoint, I have never really. Girls have always been involved in Scouts.
Now, it was interesting to hear you talk about the courses offered in all the countries in the world that have scouting, and knowing the history of Wood Badge and how it started. All over the world, do they wear the Gilwell Troop 1?
Yes, they do actually.
All right, so what is that? I don't know what that is.
Except in North Korea.
Well,
Okay.
I can't speak to.
Is
North
it
Korea.
a kilt? Is it a
It's the whole idea is that the very first Wood Badge course was held in September 1919. It was an 11-day course. We got this trimmed down to 6. Just want to let you know. However, AMA has it down to 3.
It sounded like this is Spinal Tap. We
yeah.
got 11. Most blokes got 6. We got 11.
So, but what it is that it was held in 1919, and the reason was Lord Baden-Powell came to the realization.
That's the British accent.
That's right. Came to the realization, much like what I was just talking about, is that if you're going to have youth trying to be leaders, you needed adults who had the leadership skills. And so he actually had Scoutmaster training 3 or 4 years before that, similar to our IOLS, Introduction to Outdoor Leader Skills. Okay? But he then realized that just having the skill set to be able to work out in the outdoors wasn't sufficient. And so he, along with a fellow named Gibney, I believe, worked on to develop the leadership course we know as Wood Badge. And Wood Badge got its name, and it's used universally throughout the world because Baden-Powell wanted to give some sort of a recognition, much like a patch or something. And so he had a necklace that was made of, it was a chief's necklace made out of wooden beads. And so he gave each of the participants 2 wooden beads on a leather loop. And to this day, that is the proof of your Wood Badge. Now, amongst other things, there's a neckerchief that you wear that has the McLaren tartan, because McLaren is the one who donated Gilwell Field in London. I've actually been there. It's an interesting place. So if you're ever in London, look it up. So there's a couple of things that we have. Now the animals, because you have in your patrols, you end up having an animal name assigned to you. Those animal names obviously are different if you go to another country. Australia might have kangaroos, but
No, I'm pretty sure it's the platypus.
yeah,
Yeah,
it would be kind of weird.
The
if
male
we had-
platypus.
It'd be kind of weird if we had a kangaroo patrol in the U.S. Okay, so
Oh, that'd be awesome.
it'd be interesting. So
Oddly enough, the male platypus has a poison spur on its rear leg. If you get stung with it, you'll be in excruciating pain for weeks.
do you lay an egg?
I don't
I think
know
I just
that I
did.
believe you.
No, but the doctor will give you a bill.
No.
Well, one thing on NYLT, much like I mentioned Wood Badge, we have participants from many neighboring councils who come to participate in our course, and we invite anybody from these other councils to be on our staff also. So we're not exclusive in any way. If you've participated in our course, you're welcome to come back on
That's
staff.
apparent you're not exclusive.
Yes.
Yeah. And the cost is the same as a week of summer camp?
Well, here's the deal, though. When I came in as council training chair, NYLT and Wood Badge and stuff were kind of looked at as a separate entity. And, people would try to apply for camperships or something like that. And we didn't have a campership committee like they do for summer camp. And so I talked with the council professionals and I said, come on, we need to come up with something. And they came up with a really good idea. They said, well, we'll just combine you with our camping group and they'll run that. And then they came up with the idea, you know what? If you take 2 weeks of summer camp, you get the second week at half cost. If we're doing this, then we might as well run it the same way. So if you go to summer camp and take NYLT, you get NYLT at half price. Okay? So NYLT is the same price as summer camp, except, again, you get it at half price.
So if you're a scout and you're talking about scouts going to summer camp and taking NYLT, are they doing that in addition to their merit
Yes.
badges, or do
Yes.
they take fewer merit badges and then NYLT?
No, what happens is that we actually run NYLT at a couple different locations. So we run them at Musser Scout Reservation up in Green Lane. And it's a week-long course. We run 2 of those. We run 2 of them up at Resica Falls, up at the Firestone Camp. We've reopened that, and we
Okay.
operate out of there. So we run 2 of those. So if you were to come to summer camp, and some of the older youth are saying, well, we've already been to summer camp. I got all the merit badges I need. I don't think I'm going to go to summer camp with my troop this year.
Oh, that's a great idea.
The idea is, come on, guys, you can come to summer camp with your troop.
Right.
You'll split off, and you'll go through.
Because
You'll
we
go
have
through
that all
NYLT.
the time, where we're trying to convince the older scouts, come to summer camp. You still got a lot to gain from
That's right.
that. And they're, I got all my merit badges. I don't know.
So now you can come to Resica, and we run our courses on weeks 1, 3, 5, and 7. Weeks 1 and 7 are at Musser. So camp weeks, because once
Right.
again I've decided we'll mesh everything so it makes sense with the camp
Right.
program.
Right.
So weeks 1 and 7 are at Musser. Weeks 3 and 5 are at Resica. We also run one. We've got this past weekend. We run a 2-weekend course. So this past weekend was weekend number 1. This coming weekend is weekend number 2. And believe it or not, we have it on the calendar. If you look on the Cradle of Liberty website, we're going to try and run one between Christmas and New Year's, if we have enough participants. Because much like
Camping.
Wood Badge,
Camping.
much like Wood Badge, I have to have a certain number of participants
Sure.
in order to have the teams.
Sure.
If I don't have that, we're going to have to cancel.
We can
But
camp at the Hilton.
well, actually, we're going to camp at the Council Service Center in
Oh,
Wayne.
okay. All right.
Okay.
So we've got that all set up. The council is working with me, and we're all set to be able to run out of there. I have a scoutmaster set up for that. I've got a few youth staff members ready to go. We just need to have the participants, so we'll see what happens with that.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Now, getting back to the summer camp, though, with the youth, so that you're running them only particular weeks. So if
At this time.
At this time. So if we had some scouts that wanted to do this, we'd have to be there at those specific weeks.
Correct.
Okay.
Or you'd send them to Musser
Okay.
on the other weeks, 1 and 7.
Okay. Oh, I see. So he doesn't even have to be at summer camp.
That's correct.
I should say he or she now.
That's correct.
That's where Scouts BSA.
Yes.
After February 1st.
As of February 1st. I'm trying to get myself into that habit
Yeah.
now. So,
So we train in NYLT, we train between 100 and 120 youth every year. And if you run the statistics, that number should be somewhere closer to 180 youth. If everybody was taking advantage of it, considering attrition and considering. So the word probably isn't out there yet to everybody, all the units. And I think that's important to understand. I have gotten all kinds of feedback from parents and from youth who have said, I've done a lot of fun things in Scouts, but the greatest activity I've ever done was NYLT. It was the most important thing I did in Scouts.
I don't think they've ever done scout fishing.
Well, that's true.
Scout fishing is probably the single most fun I've ever had.
really,
Yeah.
tell me about it.
Well, Todd Shaner, oddly enough, who is a Wood Badge participant and graduate, invented scout fishing. And, well, the conditions have to be right, obviously. You have to have a flood that floods your campsite, like maybe at Henson or some other site like that. And you have a huge puddle. You take your fishing rod, tie a $5 bill to it, cast it out into the puddle, and wait.
All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Randy, thank you for being co-host again.
Scott,
And-
thanks for bailing me out tonight.
How did I bail you out?
Never mind. We'll work on this.
We'll
Scott.
work on this.
we'll work
I
on
got
this.
it. I got it. Don't worry. You can pay me for the bail bond.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Steve, thank you once again
Always welcome.
for being the voice of sanity here at our meetings. And George Whitmire, thank you very much. I really had a great time. I learned a lot
George,
tonight.
honest and seriously.
Well,
Thanks for putting up with my shenanigans.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me here.
And for the rest of you, thank you for attending tonight. Remember, the Troop Resource Town Hall is the second Wednesday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So join us on Facebook Live. We'll see you next time.
TroopResource.org, trying to put 1,000 skills into every troop's backpack.